Hey everyone, welcome back to Network to Net Worth. I'm your host, Guy Dunn, and today we've got an incredible guest joining us. If you spent any time in the world of marketing, automation, or agency growth, you've probably heard of him. He's one of the co-founders of Go High Level, the all-in-one sales and marketing platform that's changing how businesses manage their clients, systems, and growth. But behind the software and the success story is something I really want to dive into today. The connections that made it all possible. Because Rob and Alex didn't just build a product. He built a movement. His journey is a masterclass in how the right relationships, partnerships, and timing can shape everything. We're going to talk about how those key introductions and collaborations helped Go High Level become one of the fastest growing platforms in the space, and what lessons we can all take away about networking, leadership, and community in the digital age. Robin, I've really been looking forward to this interview for a while now. Welcome to my show.
Thank you for having me.
No problem, man. Robin, first, I want to say I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me about your journey to where you are today. And I want to recognize that you are a gracious and humble guy to agree to do this podcast. So, again, thank you. So, with that, I just want to get right into it.
Let's do it.
All right. So, let's talk about Go High Level. When we met at Big Brand Ventures about a month ago, you told the story about how you and your partners started Go High Level and how you started working together by chance, and it blew up in a short period of time. Tell our listeners the story of how you and your co-founders came together.
Yeah. Prior to high level, for me personally, I was a entrepreneur, started different businesses, also worked for a couple of other businesses along the way to help grow theirs. But really what got me, down this direction into marketing was really started out as an IT consultant. And as an IT consultant, I was helping businesses really revamp their technology within their operations. At that time, they were spending, thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of dollars in revamping their servers and updating their computers and things like that. And at the same time, they were also upgrading their digital marketing. So, getting new websites, new logos, and really just trying to update their online presence. And while, that they had trusted me working with their servers and things like that, they would ask me like, "Hey, do you mind reviewing this quote? What do you think?" And I remember looking at it and just, shocked at, what the deliverables were versus what they were charging. And I just, at one point I just asked like, "I'll do it for less, just, let me do it. Do you trust me? I know your business better than anyone else." And so I started picking up these projects one by one. And, it slowly evolved into building, full on databases and, different applications that businesses need. And one thing that I learned about was the feast and famine. And so what that is you start building, or you start working with the customer, you start, generating business with them. And then once a project is done, you got to look for your next project.
Mhm.
And for me to have a sustainable business, I needed to figure out how I can help, create recurring revenue. But really, my end goal was how do I help businesses grow and how close can I get to the revenue line? So at that point, I reached out to a lot of old customers and friends and things like that, asking, how can I be more of a consultant, helping you at the top line of your revenue, helping you grow. And so that's where I really got into digital marketing, where it's all about paid advertising, organic advertising, really working on the online presence so that you can drive more traffic there. With that, started growing an agency, with about, 20 people around the world, and scaled it to a decent size. And, through that journey, I, we were doing okay. We were really what we were known for was taking about 20 different applications online and gluing it with one, with basically becoming a hub and spoke system. So the hub was us, and we were managing APIs and building custom technology to help go to all these point solutions, which were at the time best in class. But there was really nothing out there that was really telling the whole story for a small business or connecting it all in. So that's what we were doing a really good job on. Now, at that same time, my two co-founders, Sean and Varun, and at that time, were trying to launch another startup, and they were building a software, kind of in the reputation management software world. And they were starting out, they were starting to prospect different customers, and they happened to have reached out to a customer of mine. And
Okay.
that customer was, interested in what they were doing, wanted to help out other entrepreneurs, and but didn't have any of the login and passwords that they needed to set everything up. So he approached me and said, "Hey, do you mind reaching out to these two gentlemen and help them get with it, whatever they need, so they can get it set up for the business?" And then, so of course I got on a call with them, get them access to what they need, and get it all figured out. And then we just started talking, and I remember, explaining what I did in my business and running to my conference room, because in our conference room at that time we had actually mapped out our whole business, and what we do. And I took a picture and sent it to Sean and Varun, and I was like, "What would it take to build something like this?" And they both gave me an interesting response and saying, "Give us a couple of days, we'll call you back." And at that time, I didn't know if who they were. They could have been working for a megacorp. They could have just been a project manager. Or, you never know who's on the other line. I literally just met them a little
Right.
while earlier, and I was thinking they were just trying to get me off the phone. They had really had no interest. But lucky enough for me, a couple of days later, I got a call from Sean, and he basically asked to get on a call and wanted to show me what they had built, and they had actually mocked up the first version of what high level is today. And it was fascinating. I have a technology background, understand software development, and the fact that they were able to build it was just phenomenal, mostly within a couple of days. And then, I was just so ecstatic by it. And I said, okay, let me try it out. So we took that software, implemented it for a couple of clients in house, immediate success. And I went back to them saying, okay, I want to install it for all of my customers. And so we started getting onto that, and we just kept getting success. And I've never seen, that sort of excitement, not only within my team, but with everybody else, with their customers.
Right.
And I went back to Sean and Vern saying, "Hey, I want to give you guys some value. Can I call around to other agencies that would be interested into this? I'm in a lot of networking groups that kind of know people in the industry." And they said, "Sure, why not? What's the worst that's going to happen?" So I went out, reached out to a couple of people that I knew, heavy influential people, and gave them access to software. And one of them actually had recently sold their agency and was becoming a business coach, and said, "Wow, if I had this software, I would be saving close to forty to $50,000 a month in
Wow.
expenses. This is massive." And he was starting out as a business coach and was doing his first event. And he asked me and Sean and Varun to come out and present on the software. Unfortunately, Varun couldn't make it out. He was on the other side of the world in Qatar. But Sean and I flew out to San Diego for this event. It was our first time that we met in person. Literally on the flight there, I'm creating a new website, so that we could take orders. This is literally a new product. And we get there, we present, and there was 20 people in the room, 20 people virtually. And after doing that presentation, everybody in the room bought. And at that moment, we were just excited, and just that people are interested into it. But what's funny is, since that point, we made sure that every single person got onboarded, and we would just have this moment of like, well, I'll have you on a call, do you know anyone else that'd be interested? And people would invite others on the call. And for that first year, it was just all word of mouth. And even today, we still kind of run that same motion. And 7 coming up on 8 years, about over 120,000 customers worldwide, serving about 2 million businesses, almost 2,000 employees. And so,
Wow.
we're still figuring it out, but we're onto some really good things.
That is amazing. That's a great story. I mean, this is a stupid question, but I guess what made you realize that this partnership was the right fit? I guess you guys just kind of gelled real quick, huh?
Yeah. So there was no, I don't know, no, excuse me, no like formal moment of like, hey, before we get started, let's fill out this contract or paperwork or anything like that. It was, well, they threw something together for me. Let me reciprocate. Let me give them. I've always had the concept of, whatever someone does to you, reciprocate 10 times even greater,
Right.
and good things will come away. And it was never like from a quantifiable perspective. It's just like, if you're going to reciprocate, just do a good job in whatever in helping people, right? Like, they genuinely helped you, you should genuinely help back. And we were just having a great time when I started making those phone calls, starting to talk to people, trying to get people on the software. Um, we just naturally gelled. And it was probably until about a year after, flying around doing events to talking to different customers and things like that, we kind of finally looked at, wow, we actually have customers here. Like, we probably need to talk about formalizing this somehow, some way. But from the very beginning, it was just, we were just having a good time, just enjoying the moment, not necessarily focused on, the contracts or the paperwork or how we're going to structure the business or anything like that.
I guess that's the way it is. A lot of times with tech people, like-minded tech people, you get excited about the technology and what you can do with it, and the wins that you make every day. So you're like, oh man, and before you know it, time goes by and you- you've done so much. You're like, oh, I guess we ought to have a business, right?
Yeah, yeah. I will say, if you look at all the best tech companies, all the best, partnerships, they all come from an organic place of, we're here for the product, we're here for our customers, not here for, from a self-serving perspective.
Okay,
I always get feedback from other people saying, I just don't get it. How do you guys have, such a strong relationship with partner, having a partnership and things like that? To be honest, like, it's been super easy just because we're very, not only like-minded, but it's still the same goal in mind of, how many people can we help, and we all personally enjoy that. And so, we've as long as you keep that up front, you're not going to have any issues.
got you. No, that's a great concept. It's a great way to go. And I find similar when I work with other people who get what I'm trying to do, trying to help customers. I'm very much customer service oriented because I think, I don't know if I told you, I had a tech company, I owned a tech franchise for years. Um, but I would just make sure that every customer was happy. And that was like my number one priority. I would tell customers, listen, if you are not satisfied, please, you don't have to pay me. I will not take your money because you have to be happy. For me to
Mhm.
be able to walk away and know that I took care of you, you have to make sure that you're willing to pay me and have no qualms about the money, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, that feeling of good value leads to money, not go find money and then try to figure out how to get good value to people. Like, I think that's very hard. Um, the way that I started out in the business world was always like, I'm gonna do something for free. One, it gives me the experience and gives me the ability to try it out. And then, when I know that I'm doing something good, I always ask, if you were gonna pay for this, what would you pay?
Right. I've done that.
Right? And then people will throw out the number, and then you get a good idea on, what you can charge. And then what I would also ask, when I was ready to start charging for money, is like, "Oh, you wanted to charge me, or you said this is worth 500 bucks? What if you pay me 250 bucks today?" And I'd immediately get cash, right? They set the bar, and I'm coming in even under that, and they're
Mhm.
happy. And then I would just use that as a stepping stone to go from there.
Got you. So you're when you said a lot of your business was through word of mouth. How did a lot of those relationships come? Were they just from customers referring you? Did you just meet people at different events? Was it? I mean, because obviously one of my big strategies is networking, and that's what my podcast is about. So talk to me about how you've made the right connections and how you've networked your way into growing your business.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is just finding people who are in the same industry and trying to understand what their problems are. I just started to ask, like, what's your biggest challenge? What are you struggling with? Well, and have you tried this and have you tried that? And usually you can extract what people are looking for. But in part of growing the business, we would personally, onboard customers, and that was a big thing. And then while we were on there, we would always look for that point of like, when did I hit that success point, that you're looking for, like that win? When you set
Hmm.
something up, you need to know that, oh, I got it. I got it working. Once I see that smile or that signal, I would just ask, like, well, cool, we got it here. Do you know anyone else that would like this? Like,
Right.
anyone else that struggling with this? And that I've always been that person of birds of a feather flock together. Like,
Hmm.
that's something that I've always known. And 9 out of 10 times people are like, as a matter of fact, I do know somebody else. And in fact, being in an online world, just like how we are right now in a webinar, it's like, actually, let me message them right now, whether it's through text messaging or Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever. And then
Right.
they would invite that person on immediately. And then they would do a soft introduction, and then we would just keep going that way. And so that's honestly how we grew the business early on.
That's amazing. As entrepreneurs, we often look for mentors or influencers to help guide us. Did you have any mentors who significantly impacted your journey, or basically gave you some good advice to take you, to where you are?
Yeah, I mean, I look at mentorship kind of in a probably different than most. One, people that I look up to, definitely from a family perspective, look at a lot of people within the family, who've done great things and how they've done it or their decision making, kind of take their golden nuggets that they've, either have told me or have given, and take it internally and try to make the right decision, such as my dad. Uh, um, my parents are a huge blessing. They've worked incredibly hard to give what they could for me and my brother.
Hmm.
But outside of that, in the business world, I'm definitely a fan of Warren Buffett and other entrepreneurs out there. They don't know me. I've never directly worked with them or spoken to them. However,
Okay.
I do read a lot of their content, read a lot of their books and things like that. So from a mentorship perspective, I kind of chase it down that way of just looking at people's past experiences and how they were not only made the decision with those experiences, but how they got there. I mean, I think that's an important part of the story. Um, I would say that I'm probably the most introverted. I'm very introverted as a person, so asking people for help is not something that I know or commonly ask for. I try to figure it out myself. But anything that's public knowledge or something that I can ask, or not ask, but go read about or something like
Right.
that. That's usually the way that I've chased down mentorship.
But that's interesting. You say you're introverted, but it seems like you are a natural salesperson when it comes to your business and you're getting clients because you, like you said, you ask, is there anybody else who needs some help? And then you talk with them. And when you're talking about the stuff that I'm sure that introverted personality goes away and your excitement about your technology comes to the forefront.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess my introvertedness is like just in normal social experiences, but when it comes down to what we do and how we're able to serve people and things like that, my mind just kind of goes into this weird thing of like excitement. Don't think about
Hmm.
anything else. Just keep talking about what you love, and if someone gets me going, I'll talk their ears off. But it's just only because I love it, and that's just what I do every day.
Right, right. And obviously, so it's not just who you know, it's who they know.
Yep.
So you've had connections that lead to other relationships that you didn't expect. So were there anything like, did you have any like really pivotal connections that somebody gave you that turned into something pretty big?
Um, yeah, I mean, starting out, Rob Bailey, he was that first person, out of the first couple of people that we reached out to that I personally knew, reached out to him and showed him what we were doing. He went out of his way to invite us to his event,
Right,
and
right.
so that was an important moment for us. But I think along the way, there's so many important people that have helped push our business, and they're not going to be names that people know or people would recognize.
Hmm.
It's just good, genuine people that not only found value into our product, but told you know 5, 10 other people that they know, because they kind of experience that same feeling of, wow, this is important that someone solves something in the way that I operate my business. I need to tell other people about it because they're struggling in the same areas.
Right,
Um, and so, I don't necessarily know off the top of my head of like some major names. I mean, they're definitely there. Don't get me wrong, but
right.
it's more
And
about the
you
small,
know, I
unknown person that's done way. We're very gracious in what they've done.
got you. Well, I mean, I think that it's more what I'm hearing for the most part is you're building a huge amount of trust with your customers and just people that you know that you've been able to help. That huge amount of trust gives them not only the runway to introduce you to other people, but want to find more people to introduce you to so you can grow your business because they're so enamored by what you've done for them, but also how the real solutions that you have are helping companies like theirs. So it's no reason. I mean, you're building what I guess raving fans. I'm sure you're familiar with the book Raving Fans.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I,
And that's what
yeah,
you're building, a raving fan base of clients as well as technology adopters who are like, you got to follow these guys. You got to go with these guys because they have the solutions that we all need.
yeah. No, 100%. I wouldn't say that we were consciously trying to chase down and build raving fans. It was just more in the sense of, I'm not letting you off the phone until we get what you came asking for. We got it figured out and solved. And so it was just more of that feeling of, look, somebody is here who has a problem. Let's figure it out together.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So let's talk about technology. You've seen networking evolve in recent years, especially with digital tools like you guys have. As someone who runs a software platform, what role do you think technology plays in building and maintaining relationships in today's world?
Yeah, I mean, at the core of it, you still need to always have the humanistic perspective of being able to communicate and talk to people. I think there's as much of AI technology that comes into the world, people always rely down to the easiest thing of human connection.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that is the forefront, and that will always stay the forefront. However, technology makes things a lot easier, right? Like right now, you and I are using technology to be able to create content together.
Right.
And without technology, it would require us to create more logistical challenges of trying to fly somewhere, trying to meet in person, scheduling, and things like that. So I think while technology will make things easier, it's not going to solve things 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But it always comes down to the human connection, and so that to me is always going to be the leading force of how we operate.
Got you. From your perspective as a platform builder, where do you see the future line between the systems that automate tasks and systems that actually support human decision making, making trust, and building relationships?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fun thing of where technology is going is the creation of the technology is getting significantly easier. I mean, this is where AI is, just monumental in the world. But in the way that we accomplish it, and we talk about automations and things like that. Uh, I think that whether it's through like short form text, voice, um, or even through video,
Mm-hmm.
basically communicating with what you want to accomplish as an outcome and how you want to do it, like the systems can all build it for you. So
Mm-hmm.
it's you don't need to think. So the challenge in I say the challenge for a lot of business owners and a lot of individuals is, how do you sequentially think logically, right? Like to go from point A to point B, if you break it down, like let's say for instance you need to go to the grocery store. Well, if you think about it, at very micro tasks, you need to first stand up. You need to change your clothes. You need to put on your shoes. You need to grab your keys, get in the car. You need to turn the ignition. Like there's so many micro steps they need to think through.
Right.
And that is very challenging for people to think at that granular level. And then also in a very sequential perspective. I think with AI, all it's gonna, you just need to say like, hey, I need to get into my car. I need to go from point A to point B to go to the grocery store to then return home so I can unload my bag. Well, with AI, it's gonna think of all those micro progression points for you
Mm-hmm.
and help build what you need. So from an automations perspective, when you think about software, it's, hey, I need to send an email to 20 different people who have purchased a product from me, and I want to wish them happy holidays. Right? Like I could just say it just as simple as that, and the system can interpret it and build it out very quickly. I think that's going to be the biggest shift in the world, because it's no longer about how do you build the platform so that you can do all these micro steps. It's just, can you receive information, interpret it, and build the outcome that people are looking for?
Right. I mean, the whole uh, growth in vibe coding and the platforms that are out there now where you can just tell the computer to do what you want and it creates software, it creates apps, it creates all kinds of tools. I mean, I've used it myself on a few platforms. It's just amazing how quickly the evolution of technology is, and I don't see it slowing down. I think it's going to increase and increase and increase. Um, how do we keep our hands around it, or keep ourselves in a place where we're able to do things and keep it safe, as well as protect our intellectual property without people stealing your ideas, but also um, being able to provide customers solutions when they can create solutions for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple different ways to think about it. When we think about intellectual property and things like that, is what you're creating that's so unique that somebody is going to not only take it, but then be able to monetize it better than you ever could.
Hmm.
It's a very small percentage of people. So generally speaking, I think in the context of what we're talking about here is that I don't think that your biggest concern should be about protecting your IP. It should be trying to build something and get it out to the world as fast as possible
Okay.
and get outcomes out of it so that you're actually providing value. Like you can have the best thing in the world, and if you are the only person that knows about it, guess what? It is not the best thing in the world
Exactly.
because you're the
Exactly.
only person in the world that knows about it, right?
Right. Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. There is a small percentage of things that needs to be protected and things like that. But just generally speaking, and for most people, it is about speed to value. So how quickly can you get something out there and just give value out to the world? Um, and then, if you are, before even giving out value to the world, you're worried about protecting it. My question that I generally ask when I hear about those situations is, why are you trying to protect it? Is it almost too easy, or is it something that's really not that unique?
Right.
Right? So there is that. But, when I think about safety and things of that nature, it's definitely the 99 to 1 rule. Like 99% of people leveraging AI, they're all doing it for all the right reasons or good intentions and for, good outcomes.
Hmm.
There's always the 1% that's going to leverage it for bad reasons and bad purposes,
Yep. Yep.
or bad intentions. And unfortunately, as a society, we typically make rules based on what the 1% did, and it impacts the 99%. And so this is where you've seen stuff of like with OpenAI. A lot of people were leveraging OpenAI, ChatGPT for medical questions and things of that nature.
Hmm.
And what they got concerned about was people are self-diagnosing themselves. Now, this was all with good intention and things like that. But then
Right.
what the 1% was doing was trying to basically say, we are replacing doctors. You don't need doctors anymore. You don't need to validate what we're saying. So they can easily create fake content and then spit that back out to people. And so because the 1% ruined it, it affects 99%, and now you can't actually ask a lot of medical questions on ChatGPT anymore.
Right. Right. All right. Let's turn it back to what we were talking about, because we can go into all kinds of uh, tech scenarios, especially with you and I both being kind of techies. So,
Yeah.
um, go high level. You support networking within businesses. How does it help entrepreneurs maintain connections and relationships that drive growth?
Yeah. So, the way that I think about, our product is definitely like a funnel, so you have leads that you need to go generate around the world. People that to create interest into your business, you take the leads, and then from the leads to convert them to customers, you need to create engagement. You need to create ability to contact those leads of people that could be interested. You need to be able to chat with them, whether it's through texting, through phone calls, through emails, through WhatsApp. through all the different various communication channels, you need to be able to create conversation and network with these individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you provide enough value and they're ready to purchase, you need to be able to way to turn them into a customer. So whether that's through, having order pages or invoices or proposals or contracts, you need to be able to send that out. Once they sign it, you need to be able to convert it to receive payments, right? And so now you're in the middle of the funnel, getting to the bottom of the funnel in the perspective of, once they turn into a lead to get them to a customer, they need to pay. So once they pay, then you need to, continue communicating with them and then get them to start, leaving 5-star reviews for you. And then,
Mm-hmm.
you can do more operational things, whether it's selling them courses or content or deliverables that they need to use your product or services. And so well, the way that I think about networking with, businesses, it's the businesses communicating with their customers, from a full stack perspective, because there's so many times when you are running a business that you need to communicate with other people effectively and keep them through the journey. Because if you lose them to the journey, you actually lose dollars, whether it's because now you're either spending more time in trying to deliver a product or service or even trying to
Mm-hmm.
sell them, or you lose them along the way because the customer gets fed up that you're not in constant communication.
Got you. Wow, that's pretty deep, and I guess it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier in reference to the micro steps. I mean,
Yeah.
basically, you got to just walk the business. You help the businesses walk their customers through the micro steps to making them a customer, keeping them happy, and building their business step by step.
Yep. 100%.
As someone who's now a leader in the SaaS space, what's your advice to aspiring entrepreneurs about the strategic value of finding collaboration partners? What's the best way to build genuine relationships that lead to business growth through
Um,
collaboration?
yeah, I would say it's build a community of people that you can build with, whether it's internal or external. And to be honest, if you have both, then you have the ultimate solution, right? You get to build exactly what people need. You don't need to, you don't need to predict the future in any way. You're solving problems immediately, and you know that flywheel of finding a problem, creating a solution, finding a problem, creating a solution, that will start compounding very quickly and create a snowball effect of positive growth.
Got you. Now, if I remember correctly, you had gone through different um, rounds of fundraising for your business. What kind of advice could you give small companies who are trying to grow and get funding for their business? Where can they go, and what do they do? What can they do to make that opportunity open? Those opportunities doors open for them.
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely in a unique situation for us as a business. When we started running the company, we honestly didn't even take a paycheck for the first year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We were just putting every single penny back into the business. And through that journey, we were also profitable from the very beginning. We never really spent any money. We never really extended ourselves, only because it was, we're trying to figure out the business. We're just trying to grow and we're having a good time doing it. So we weren't spending money or anything. And so after a year, we were actually getting, a lot of interest of people wanting to invest into the company, and we kept saying no. But because it was, just the height of the market, we just started to entertain it, and we started working with what they call an investment banker,
Mm-hmm.
who think of them as essentially become like a real estate agent for your business. They have the right contacts and the right people, and you go through this matrix of like, what kind of investor are you looking for? And for us, we wanted an investor not because we needed their money. We just needed the right investor who understood our business, didn't want to change the business, and we wanted them to be a minority investor because we still wanted to run the majority of the company, and we wanted to give an ability to help, give some liquidity to our team members.
Mm-hmm.
They took a big bet on us starting out early within our company. They could have gotten higher paying jobs, at larger organizations and things like that, but they wanted to be a part of the startup journey. And when you're part of the startup journey, there's some, intrinsic things that you gotta to make sure that you accomplish. And so it was one of those moments. But for me, it's finding a business broker, finding an investment banker who you have a good relationship with,
Hmm.
so that they understand what kind of people and what support that you need, so they can help contact the right individuals to help you. Now, from a business perspective, the biggest thing is making sure that you have good financials. I think that's the most important thing. Um, and just make sure that you have good documentation and making the right decisions along the way. Because as an outside investor, you want to know who you're investing into and what you're investing into.
Hmm.
And if you don't have the documentation, people start
Red
challenging
flag.
why. Yeah, it's all red flags. And so those are two things. If you're starting a business, just make sure that everything is documented and you're just making the right decisions with that documentation.
Cool. That's great, man. I mean, obviously, you guys, you made it work for you, and it helps when you. It seems like when the money came, you were already in a good financial position, so it wasn't hard. It wasn't a hard sale. It was just you being at the right place in the right time and finding the right team members. And when I say team members, the investment bankers who are going to be able to provide value to you, as opposed to you provide value to them because you're already doing well.
Right, exactly.
Excellent. Um, so Go High Level has evolved. What are you thinking about what Go High Level looks like 5 years from now? Where are you, and what's on the horizon for Go High Level as a company?
You know, every single day we enjoy helping small businesses really evolve from being, just hand or just trying to make ends meet to helping them grow and become sustainable online, or just having a digital presence and really operating their business very effectively. I think over the next 5 years, I don't see us doing a lot of different things. It's just really honing in on what we're currently doing right now, and we'll continue to build and build new products. So that's one of our core tenets and what we enjoy doing. So that's never changing. But I think it's just more about we want to basically do what we're doing at a grander scale. So when I think of world domination, it's doing what people have seen us doing. We want to be on the tip of everyone's tongue around the world, and be the number one product that's out there doing what we're doing.
Got you. I mean, there's other tools out there that are similar to yours, um, but they're not the same. I mean, obviously, there's other CRMs, there's other uh, funnel tools, but
Yeah,
you guys do it really well, and the fact that you are tech guys who enjoy it and have fun just making sure it works really, really well, that makes a big difference in getting customers to trust you
yeah,
guys.
yeah. No, I mean, look, no, when we were building our product, no one was clamoring for yet another CRM or yet another funnel builder or yet another tool. That wasn't what industry is looking at. What most people are looking for is there, what makes us different is how we're trying to help our customers. And so we are watching people as how they build and how they're leveraging the tools and seeing how we can craft it in an easy way so that they can deliver the outcomes that they're looking for. And so that's been kind of our MO and what makes us fundamentally different. And that's what we want to continue doing for as long as we can.
Got you. So you guys, your software helps people build connections that matter and create long-term opportunities. Um, how are you? How do you look at that for businesses? I mean, the reality is you are a networking tool for businesses. Um, did you ever think that that was the plan, or is that just something that happened because
Uh,
you
that
know
definitely happened. Yeah, it definitely happened over time. I mean, we were just, heads down. Just when we hear customers trying to use the product, how do we help them get it figured out? How do we help them with some basic use cases? And then we would just ask questions on what else do they need, or how are they thinking about it? How are they leveraging it? We just continue building it from there. So it's definitely morphed over the past, 7, 8 years into something even bigger. And so that's what we've just been fascinated by, and we want to continue leaning into it.
excellent. So as you look ahead, are you more excited about what Go High Level can automate or what it can enable humans to do better at scale, especially in the
Uh,
areas of trust, influence, and making decisions?
it's a good question. I'd probably say it's a combination of both is really what I'm excited about because I think they're two discrete scenarios, but I think over time they are merging. You know,
Hmm.
when you talk about automating as well as making connections, I think that concept is going to come in as one very soon, and so I'm definitely watching it from both different perspectives and trying to figure out how to combine it as fast as possible.
Got you. Um, I'm excited to see what Go High Level has in the future, and I'm especially excited to be working with your company. When we met, I had mentioned to you that my new AI driven platform that I created, Trust Looper, um, will be offering a free Go High Level sub account for clients who choose the elite level. So I'm working you guys into my
Yeah.
platform because I obviously see the value. I've actually had an account for a little while, probably for about a year or so, and I just see it. It's exciting in just being a part of your universe.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited as well. Whatever we can do to help, please let me know.
Excellent. Well, Robin, listen, this was definitely an amazing interview. And I'm sure my listeners were inspired and learned a lot from you and your journey. And again, I want to thank you for sharing today. And I hope you the best. I'm glad to have had the opportunity. Is there anything you want to share with my viewers other than for them to go to gohighlevel.com and sign up?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you hit it. Feel free to check out gohighlevel.com. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, robin@gohighlevel.com. And nonetheless, thank you, Guy, for having me on. Super excited to be here. And yeah, hopefully we can do this again soon.
Cool. Well, that wraps up another episode of Network to Net Worth with me, Guy Dunn. Let's not forget, just like approaching someone you admire, networking is about taking that first step. If you don't introduce yourself, you already closed the door on potential. So go out there, make that connection. Subscribe now, and we'll catch you on the next episode.